Hello everyone, welcome to this special webinar. Equity is now being raised by some companies. Yes, the crowdsource funding equity raising phenomenon is well underway in Australia. We're just about ready to go. There's still a few people registering, but it is 12:30 AEST. So welcome to this webinar. I'm Peter Towers, Managing Director of ESS BizTools. Equity is now being raised by small proprietary companies. They've been eligible to raise capital since the 19th of October 2018. Prior to that, you had to be an unlisted public company from around February 2018 through to 19th of October 18. According to my research, talking to the intermediaries, there's about 35 companies currently in the system trying to raise capital. So they've got off to a flying start. Have you got any of your clients underway at present? Or if you haven't, hopefully by the end of this webinar, you are going to be committed to being very proactive in assisting clients to raise capital. There are 7 intermediaries that ASIC have appointed in the marketplace. There are rumours from a conference that was held in Sydney 2 weeks ago that ASIC is considering appointing some more intermediaries, and that will be interesting. And that's probably great news because that will mean that the market's starting to grow. So what's the opportunity for accountants? Have you thought about this? It applies to any of your clients who have a group annual turnover of less than $25 million and also group assets valued at less than 25 million. Now, most of these companies, 25 million turnover and under companies, will traditionally be the clients of small to medium-sized accountancy firms. They're not the clients of the big 4 or the top 20 firms. Most of them will be clients of small to medium-sized accountancy firms. So it's a great opportunity for your firm to offer a proactive crowdsource funding equity raising service to your clients. Gives you an opportunity to grow with your clients. So even if your traditional services have just been annual accounts and taxation, if you're interested in crowdsource funding, the first thing I'll say to you is congratulations. Have a go. But you've got to communicate with your clients and your prospects in your area to let them know that you're interested in this work. Please don't sit back and wait for clients to come and ask you about crowdsource funding because you might never hear from them because they may have already gone to someone else who they think is interested in supplying those services. And crowdsource funding equity raising will definitely give new opportunities for your team. It will definitely mean that your accounting staff are doing real accountants' work. And there are real benefits for your firm. You'll be creating new income streams for your firm. And with all the challenges and uncertainty about taxation return work at present in the accountancy market, I think crowdsource funding should be welcomed by firms as an opportunity to diversify into some other income generating activities that your team will like being involved in and your firm will earn some fees from. I think you've got a definite role. So where do you start in this whole process? Within the ESS BizTools crowdsource funding product package, we have developed a crowdsource funding client matrix, which will help you to identify from your current client list who might have at least one of the characteristics that we've identified that a company that's going to be successfully able to pursue capital raising through crowdsource funding will have. We think there's 10 of those characteristics and they are listed in that document. My proposal to you is that you have someone sit through and look at your clients. First questions they've got to comply with are the legal questions. The turnover limit of 25 million, the asset limit 25 million, not listed on a stock exchange, not been on a financial market, and not just raising the cash for the sake of having cash. But then there's 10 characteristics that the matrix has listed that you might be surprised who you have as a client who might meet that criteria. Then we suggest that you invite those clients to a seminar or webinar to be proactive in telling them what your firm can do, not sitting back waiting for them to come and talk to you about it. Because as I said earlier, you might never have that conversation. And unfortunately, you might have been in the process of losing that client. Because once they go to someone else to give them advice on something as important as raising capital, there's a fair chance that they'll be approached by an associate of that organisation that's helped them raise their capital to undertake their annual accounting and income tax return work. So you've got a definite role in this process. Our suggestion is you would meet with the clients who have been to the seminar so they know what it's all about now, and give them a proposal. And a proposal obviously means there's a quotation as part of it. This is what we will now do for you, and our fee estimate is a certain amount of money. And you're going to cover the crowdsourced funding operations, the eligibility tests. Give them an overview of the role, the duties, the responsibilities, and the powers of the crowdsourced funding intermediaries. Acquaint them with what's going to be included within the crowdsourced funding offer document. And there are a wide range of legal issues that have to be answered. And then make sure the client understands what happens when the crowdsourced funding offer document is finally accepted by the intermediary and then placed on their website. Your client needs to realize that this is a public document. Other people will be able to read it. Incidentally, at the beginning, I meant to say to you, if you have any questions, can you please type your questions into your computer, and in computer jargon, raise your hands and send them through to me. And I will answer your questions later in the webinar. The indicative fee for this type of service, I believe, is somewhere between $5,000 and $10,000, and the full package to assist you in delivering these services is included within the ESS BIZTOOLS product package. Now, when you get a client that wants to proceed, so they've gone through the first part of the process, they're comfortable with it, they understand what's going to be involved, the next important process is to prepare a summary document, which could be a business plan, or maybe a business plan that's been updated. But after having discussions with the directors and senior managers, you need to prepare a summary of the company, the industry, the products or services that this company provides. Who are the customers? Where are they located? What is their level of service? Who's the team? Who's the CEO? And the various key reports to the CEO, and how many other people are in the team, and what do they do? Who are the directors? What's the location of the business? Where are branch locations situated? The website should be reviewed to make sure it completely covers all aspects of what the business is now doing. What intellectual property has the company developed? What does it own? What's the story on protection of intellectual property? Does the company have a policy? Have any patents been applied for? What's the status of those patent applications? What is the company's unique competitive advantage? And the current financial position, the balance sheet, profit and loss account, prepared 30 days earlier, needs to be prepared so that all of this information is available for a discussion with a potential intermediary or more than one potential intermediary. Our suggestion then is that you coordinate approaches to the intermediaries. There are 7 of them. You might not want to contact 7 intermediaries, and they are situated in different locations: Sydney, Melbourne, Adelaide, Perth, with the largest number being in Sydney. But contact them and arrange a telephone call with your client company's directors or senior management, so that there can be a conversation with the intermediaries and discuss with the intermediary the services they provide. Now, if you're located in or near the city where the intermediary is located, the intermediary will probably want to have a face-to-face meeting with those key people in the organisation. Because whilst your company is sizing up the intermediary is sizing up your client's company and making a decision as to whether they wish to represent your client in this whole process. Because you've got to remember, intermediaries have got thousands of potential investors on their database. So they want to make sure that any company that they recommend to their potential investors has passed the appropriate tests and meet the standards that that particular intermediary is trying to achieve. It's also the appropriate time to be asking the intermediary to give you details of the fees that they will be charging. Now, the legislation doesn't specify the fees payable. It basically says that the fees can be paid by cash, by an allocation of shares in the company, or a combination of cash and shares in the company. The big requirement is that the agreed fee must be disclosed in the crowdsourced funding offer document and on the intermediary's website. So there needs to be full disclosure as to what that fee is going to be. It's also desirable that your client is made aware of what, if any, the upfront payments will be from this particular intermediary. Now, some intermediaries are indicating they may charge onboarding fees of $5,000 to $10,000. This is an upfront payment. Most intermediaries indicate on their website that the amount of fees, if any, termed onboarding fees, will be determined on a client-by-client basis and obviously advised to the client and included in the intermediary agreement. There will be a necessity for the production of a company video, and this normally costs $4,000 to $5,000. Design fees for, in the main, the offer document will cost between $1,000 and $2,000, and each of these items is a cost to the company. Now, fees charged by intermediaries seem to range from 6% to 8% of the capital raised, which, as we indicated earlier, could be a mixture of a cash payment or shares or a combination of both. In the discussions with the intermediary, it will be important to ascertain what the intermediary's preference is relative to the company undertaking some pre-seed round funding and or a private launch. And we'll talk about both of those items in a bit more detail shortly. And what particular information is the intermediary looking to be included within the crowdsourced funding offer document. And you need to remember that the final adjudicator on the suitability of the offer document is the intermediary. So you need to make sure the company directors and senior managers are listening to what the intermediary's representative has to say about the offer document. And in actual practice, the offer document goes backwards and forwards a few times between the company, and that may well be your office preparing the offer document, and the intermediary, until the intermediary believes that everything has been appropriately disclosed in accordance with the law and appropriately disclosed so far as promoting what this company does, making it interesting for the potential investors. I've made some telephone calls to some of the intermediaries, and I've got some feedback from what they've had to say. And this is very interesting. In the UK, crowdsourced funding is a larger share of the market than venture capital. I find that quite amazing. Venture capital is a very big industry around the world and would be so in the UK, yet crowdsourced funding is larger than it. Individual intermediaries appear to have 20 to 30,000 potential investors who they contact every time that they have listed a new company on their website. So they are a very important group of potential investors in what that intermediary is talking to them about, which companies. Now, some of the intermediaries have expressed a preference for companies to undertake some pre-seed funding before proceeding with the crowdsourced funding equity raising. This would be a Section 708 capital raise, which, as you know, enables a company to raise up to $2 million in a 12-month period from no more than 20 investors. There is no limit, though, other than the 2 million from a maximum of 20 investors. And most of those investors would still be retail investors. What the intermediaries believe this achieves is that they are able to indicate to the crowd that the company wishes to raise $2 million, but it's already raised $750,000 from 10 intermediaries, from 10 potential investors under Section 708. And that they're now looking to raise the balance of $1,250,000 from the crowd, the retail investors. Excuse me, my apologies. Tongue got the wrong word out then. But we're talking about retail investors. And some intermediaries prefer a private launch. So for the first 30 days of the 90-day listing period, which is the maximum that you can have, it is not available for the public, and ASIC apparently are approving this process, so that in that period, they are assisting the company to promote the investment idea to employees, to shareholders, current shareholders, customers of the company, suppliers to the company, family and friends of shareholders and senior management. The benefit of a private launch, according to the intermediaries, is that it gives the company some external investors before going to the public or to the crowd. They can indicate that we've approached a group of investors who know something about the business because they're customers or suppliers or employees, and they've already invested a sum of money. It's felt that this is a better way of doing it by some of the intermediaries than having everyone being approached at the same time, because they're then able to refer to this group of people who know a bit more about the company than probably what the average retail investor will know, and they've already invested a sum of money. Your accounting firm would normally coordinate the preparation of the crowdsourced funding offer document, and within our material there is a template and other supporting documentation for this very important document. This is the equivalent of the prospectus. There is a lot of information that needs to be disclosed to comply with the law, and then there is other information that would be disclosed to communicate to the crowd what this particular company is trying to achieve, what it's doing. Part of the role will be to ensure that all of these documents are appropriately filed so that they're going to be kept for about 6 years, which is the requirement for this legislation. These documents have to be available for a 6-year period. And I envisage that your role will be to liaise with the client and the intermediary for the finalisation of the crowdsourced funding offer document. Some people have said to me that they believe the intermediaries will want to prepare the crowdsourced funding offer document. That is not correct. The ASIC guidelines indicate that the intermediary's role commences after the crowdsourced funding document has been finalised by the company directors. So we envisage that you, as the accountant, will have done a significant amount of that work. Obviously, the company's management team will have contributed some of that material so that a final document is then able to be submitted to the intermediary. So it's submitted to the intermediary, who's then able to upload it to the intermediary's website. The next big matter to give some consideration to is communications. The intermediary must operate a communications facility for the listing period, up to 90 days. But the communications could also include other means of communicating with the crowd that the intermediary has authorised: videos, webinars, in-house presentations. Now, none of these are mentioned in the legislation, but ASIC has approved the intermediaries going down this path. We're going to go onto an intermediary's website shortly, and you will see some of the material that's there. And that's what your clients could have situated on the intermediary's website. Let's look at some of the intermediaries. We'll just go through their names first of all and their locations, and we've included their web addresses so that you can go on later and have a good look at them. Bill Folder Financial Services, who are in Sydney. Equities, which is based in Sydney and Auckland. Remember, New Zealand's had crowdsourced funding for about 6 or 7 years. Australia's the one playing catch up here. Big Start Capital in Perth. Virtual Financial Services in Melbourne. On Market in Sydney. Enable Funding in Adelaide. Capital Labs in Sydney. So they're the intermediaries. I just want to take you through to Equities website. You can go through and look at all of the intermediaries' websites if you wish to get a feel for what they're doing. And I'm going to show you some of the material that's on here. And what you need to then do is to envisage how your clients might be able to be shown on here. So we're going to go to explore current deals. Now this intermediary, Equities, is involved in other types of capital raising besides crowdsourced funding. So this document here is an offer information statement. So the one I want to go to is Endeavour Brewing Company, because this is crowdsourced funding. There's a short description of what the company does: award-winning, well-balanced, flavoursome beers made from seasonal Australian ingredients. Why did they pick that one? Well, it's nearly Christmas, isn't it? It's got 55 days, 10 hours and 3 minutes remaining. So that's really running the clock down on the 90 days. They've already raised $188,700. So 61.8% funded. Let's go to the view offer. So this is an Australian equity crowdfunding opportunity. Who can assist? In New Zealand, you have to be a wholesale investor, but in Australia, anyone aged over 18 can invest. So let's look at the document. It would appear that the minimum investment here is $305,000, or the maximum is $2,305,000. Incidentally, you have to disclose in the offer document what you would do with the difference between the minimum and the maximum. In this case, $2 million. So that would have been included in the document. We could invest in this offer if we wished. But there's a summary here of who the company is. These are ordinary shares. The fee paid to the intermediary is 6% of the funds raised. The cooling off period is 5 working days. And there's a statement about shares issued and what the situation is going to be with these new shares that are issued. And then there's an overview and some information, the investment highlights, what this company is all about. The next one I want to go to is, and I'm trying to show you some various alternatives here. So we're now going to a request access. This is for DHD Surf. They were having an event in Sydney on Thursday the 22nd. You could have registered to go to that. A bit of brief history of what they're about. Can you envisage some of your clients going through this process? The investment warning that has to be disclosed. Direct Investor Technologies. This is another request access. So this is technology for farmers to take better care of their livestock. Interesting summary of what's going to be undertaken. The next one's Pura Health. Now this is learn more because it's coming soon. This listing hasn't actually started yet, but the intermediary is able to start promotion. You thinking of any of your clients that might be really interested with this exposure? Now I'm going to show you a case study. This company has raised its capital. They were successful. They raised $363,250. It's called Manrags. So the intermediary, when the process is finished, produces a case study. So the campaign lasted for 40 days. They got $362,000, 177 investors, $2,046 was the average investment. They raised 120.8% of what they were targeting. They've broken down the type of investors and what they contributed. We could subscribe and get the top stories. So hopefully that's given you a bit of an overview. Obviously, you are most welcome to go back onto the site and review in some detail the listings. Now, each of the other intermediaries have got similar information. So this market is alive and it's up and working, despite what some people might be saying in the marketplace. It definitely is. So let's move on. So in summary, crowdsourced funding is a great opportunity for some of your clients to go to that next level. It's not for every client. I accept that. But for some of them, it's a great opportunity. It creates new income stream opportunities for your firm, for proactive accountants. I say proactive because you won't be getting involved in this action unless you are proactive. And I hope everyone watching today is. Your accounting team members will definitely benefit from this exposure into the real commercial world. And remember, the company that's trying to raise crowdsourced funding can be in any type of industry and any age. So it can be a startup, as some of those ones I just showed you, or it could be 91 years of age. It doesn't matter as long as they have got a good story to tell. So for more information, and I'm just going to click on here so you get an overview, you can go to the ESS BIZTOOLS website, crowdsource funding, and then we'll go to learn more so that you can find out a lot of information before you even subscribe for our package. So as you know, I think we do have a special on at present. That expires tomorrow night, close of business. So if you're not already a ESS BIZTOOLS subscriber, I'd suggest that you're taking advantage of that. You go into crowdsource funding, you can watch a video, and then we can go into learn more, whereby you can watch another video, watch a webinar, and then read a lot of material which gives you all the background to what crowdsource funding equity raising is all about. And if at the end of all that you've got any further questions, you can send me an email, please, and I'll give you the details of that shortly. And then we have a summary of what's actually in the package that you would be subscribing for. This is the second webinar in this series, and if you wish, you can also go back to look at the first webinar, which went into a lot of detail about eligibility and how you might start the conversation with your clients. And we have the link there to the YouTube video that we've prepared. We will be sending you a copy of this webinar and a copy of the PowerPoint slides, so that will facilitate you being able to click onto that YouTube site to get that particular webinar recording. So the crowdsource funding equity package has been prepared by ESS BIZTOOLS to assist accountants to be able to advise your clients on crowdsourced funding. That's what we do at ESS BizTools. We have 22 other product packages ranging from early stage innovation company, sundry debtors, personal property securities register, business plans, corporate governance, chief financial officer duties, all prepared similar to the way we've outlined to you today how the crowdsourced funding package has been prepared. And that is, we have marketing material, we have training material for your team, we have articles for you to make available to your client so that they're informed, and then we have the step-by-step process for actually performing the professional duties, for the education of your client on what crowdsourced funding is all about, on what the intermediary's role is, and then on the preparation of the crowdsourced funding offer document. Normally, a subscription to our crowdsourced funding product package, a standalone product package, is $999, including GST. That's for 24/7 access per office. But we have a special promotion on for Christmas, and that is a 40% discount, meaning the adjusted price is $599, including GST. This is available under close of business on the 21st of December, 2018. Or you can subscribe to our overall product package, which is called the Gold package, which includes everything that ESS BizTools produces. That's the crowdsourced funding equity raising package, together with those other 22 product packages that I referred to earlier, and a wide range of other materials. Now, the normal price for that is $2,970, including GST, for 24/7 access. We have the same 40% discount available, so the adjusted price is $1,782, including GST, and that also is available under close of business on the 21st of December. If you wish to subscribe, please go to www.essbiztools.com.au, and to take advantage of this promotion for the crowdsourced funding equity raising product package, please insert CSFC 40. And if you wish to avail yourself of the significant discount on the Gold package, would you please insert GOLDC40, and that will get you access to the 40% discount. If you've got any questions, please send me an email or telephone me on those numbers. Or you can look at our website, www.essbiztools.com.au. Now, I've been amiss. I haven't been checking the questions. My apologies if you have raised a question. I've got no questions. I hope that means that I've answered all of your questions. And now my last role is to wish you, your colleagues, and your families a very happy Christmas and best wishes for 2019 from the team at ESS BizTools. If you have any further questions, I'll be here until 6 p.m. on Friday night, so please contact me. And I look forward to you and your firm joining ESS BizTools as a subscriber, so that you are in position, and whenever you state that you start back in January, to be proactively out there talking to your clients and prospects about the potential for them to raise capital, thus removing them from the current problems that a lot of businesses are having in dealing with banks in the aftermath of the Banking Royal Commission. So have a great day. Enjoy your Christmas. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.